My name is Teniola. I am 14 years old and this is my sad story of getting pregnant. It was a very quiet night when I heard a scream from my mom's room. As I ran to the room, I saw my father on the floor, shaking, and my mom screaming. When we got to the hospital, the doctors told me my father had died of a stroke. A few weeks later, my mother sent me to my uncle's place to start living with him. As I arrived at my uncle's place, he looked at me with sympathetic eyes and carried my loads inside. That same evening, my uncle called me to come and eat and gave me a cold drink, which I gladly drank. When we were done eating, I started feeling dizzy and I fell asleep. When I woke up, I felt strange pains in my body and felt very sour down there. I didn't know what happened to me, so I dressed up and got ready to go to school. When I greeted my uncle, he looked at me and smiled. He said he wouldn't be paying for my school fees since he didn't have money to pay. I left for school. On my way, I was trying to vaguely remember what happened to me the night before, but I couldn't remember. I arrived at school and met my friend, Veronica. I told her I was now living with my uncle, and as we were talking, the principal came in and called all the debtors out and chased them out of the school to go home. I went back home sad, and when I got back to my uncle's house, I met him watching television. I told him what had happened, and he consoled me and gave me food. I told him I wasn't hungry and I went to take my shower. When I was done and wanted to come out, I saw my towel was missing. When I came outside of the toilet, I saw my uncle holding the towel. He showed me some money and told me if I did what he wanted, he would pay for my school fees. I was very embarrassed and shy because I was naked, and I saw the way my uncle was looking at me lustfully. I asked him what he wanted and he started touching me. I tried to stop him, but he became aggressive, and before I knew it, he was already inside me. So I screamed and shouted, and he covered my mouth as I cried and looked into his eyes. It only seemed to make him more happy. When he was done, he gave me my towel and some money for my school fees and told me if I told anyone I would be a beggar in the streets and he would deny everything. The next day I went to school feeling very sad, and I couldn't tell anyone anything. Even my friend Veronica didn't know anything going on with me. For the next month I spent in my uncle's house. Before he gave me anything like food or extra money, he would force himself on me, and he even stopped using protection. One day as I got back from school, I met my mom in my uncle's house. I ran to my mom and knelt in front of her crying, "Mommy, please, I want to leave this place," I shouted and cried, but my mom only frowned at me. "My dear, you better shut up. Do you want to kill me? Don't you know your uncle is helping us?" she said. My uncle only sat there watching me angrily. He had no sign of fear in his face and body language. Then I shouted, "Mom, uncle is sleeping with me every night. I feel very ashamed of myself." My mom only looked at me like she wasn't surprised and turned to my uncle. "Your uncle will never do that." "My daughter, is this how to repay the kind things your uncle has done for us?" my mom shouted at me. My heart sank and I ran out of the house and they chased after me. As I ran across the streets, and my mom chased me shouting my name and telling me to stop, but I refused and my uncle chased me in his car. After running for a few minutes, a trailer suddenly hit his car. I stopped and saw my uncle had gotten into an accident. He was quickly rushed to the hospital and I went to report my case at the police station. The police followed me to the hospital with a lawyer and they confirmed he was responsible for the 2 weeks of pregnancy I was carrying. He was then asked to sign a paper to will all his money to me, and after a few days in court, he and my mom were sentenced to 13 years in prison each. Thanks for watching, and don't allow yourself to be manipulated into any kind of assault.